At this time, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker. It is retired Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Ariail. Son of a career Army officer, Tom was born in Orleans, France, and grew up on various military bases around the world. He departed his final childhood home of Climax, Georgia, to graduate from the United States Military Academy at West Point in 1984. He was commissioned as an armor officer, serving at Fort Knox, Kentucky, in the 194th Armored Brigade as a tank platoon commander, company executive officer, and battalion operations officer. Throughout his long and distinguished career, he served in 5 different wars and conflicts, eventually retiring in 2008. His major decorations include the Legion of Merit, Bronze Star Medal with Oak Leaf Cluster, Meritorious Service Medal with Clusters, and the Australian Chief of Defence Force Commendation Award. He has lived in Dunwoody for over 20 years and is the commander of the Dunwoody and Sandy Springs Veterans of Foreign Wars. At this time, I would like to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Ariail.
Thank you. Thank you all. It's a pleasure to be here today. Mayor Deutsch, City Council, honored guests. I'm going to mention she isn't here, but Jennifer Bocher. Her son is at West Point, Blake, right now as a plebe and enjoying life, or maybe not enjoying life. Okay, but also the main ones for VIP, the veterans here today. If you are a World War II vet, please stand. If you are a Korean War vet, please stand. Kind of rough day for folks coming out. The Cold War. The Vietnam War. Desert Storm. Afghanistan, Iraq, the war on terrorism. Thank you all. I am truly honored to speak to the Assembly on Veterans Day. My goals are simple: keep it short, entertaining, and impart a few thoughts. What is the origin of the holiday? Can anybody tell me? Where did it come from? World War I, Armistice Day, thank you. And then in 1954, they encompassed all veterans to make it Veterans Day. Now, veterans started their military career in one of 3 ways. They either volunteered, they were drafted, or a choice was made for them, or they got to make a choice. The judge said either go in the Army and go to Vietnam or go to jail. But, and actually my first sergeant, he was the 3rd choice there, and he became an excellent first sergeant and sergeant major later on. From my earliest memories, I wanted to be a soldier. My father, as mentioned, was a career Army officer, so we moved from base to base around the world. As a toddler, I would go gravitate toward my father's combat boots and stand in them. I'm there in a diaper. They had a picture in his boots wearing his hat, smiling ear to ear. On my 4th birthday, they had a picture of me in my Army helmet, holding an ABC book in one hand and a toy gun in the other. As a boy, I spoke with vets from the Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. I built hundreds of models, tanks, planes, ships. At the time, I knew of 3 universities. University of Tennessee, where my mother attended, Wofford, where my father attended and played football, and the United States military at West Point, which I wanted to attend. Some might say I was brainwashed, but my other 3 brothers turned out all right. They didn't go in the service. In truth, it was in my blood. My ancestors have answered the call to defend the nation from the beginning to present, serving in all the major wars. But they were not professional soldiers. They were farmers by trade, most of them. The first Ariail to come here was a gentleman named John Baptiste. And he started off as a French soldier, 1754. he was sent over to fight in the French and Indian Wars. Afterwards, he became a tavern owner, and then he sold swampland to the inebriated guests there. That got him in trouble with the authorities. So to avoid deportation back to France, he went downriver, skipped town of Quebec, and went to the colonies, to Connecticut, in 1774, just in time for a Revolutionary War. He may not have been upstanding, but he sure was colorful. At this point, I applaud you for your attention. My girls at this point would have been rolling their eyes and saying, "Oh, Dad." My initial point is on memory. It's always fascinated me how the brain can store and recall incredible amounts of information and not be like my desk where I can't find anything. Short-term memory, they say, is good for 20 minutes, but I'd say 15 seconds is my average. Long-term memories, they can last for a lifetime, and they can be set off by numerous things. They could be a sight, a sound, a smell, and then the brain pulls it out and you bring out those memories. But I found from my experience that women have better memories than men. My wife can relate in detail my screw-ups from 30 years ago. I can't even recall the main event that caused those errors. And so I would tell her it's no fair. I can't argue one way or the other because I don't know anything about it. Long-term memories come from significant events, your personal, your family events, the first step of a toddler or a lost tooth, your kids. Then you got historical. And now I'll get a little participation. Raise your hand if you remember any of these and where you were at the time. JFK's assassination. Okay. The moon landing. The Challenger disaster. Few more. 9/11. Okay. And last but not least, when Navy won a national championship. No hands? That was a trick question. They have never won a national championship. Okay, and the experience that you learn things. Like as a kid, you may have stuck your finger in a light socket. A shocking indulgence that you don't do again. Your first kiss. If it wasn't your spouse, I advise you to keep that one suppressed. Traumatic events, like being in combat. Do you remember the opening scene from Saving Private Ryan? It wasn't Omaha Beach, but when he went to the cemetery there near Omaha Beach, and he saw the people that were there that meant to him, and then the memories started flooding back in. That the veterans have these, but so many more from odd and funny stories over their time in. It may have been 1 year, it may have been a couple years, may have been a whole career. But parents sometimes will ask me with a child that doesn't know their direction out of high school, and I tell them, send them to the military. It'll give them direction, leadership, they'll focus where they want to go, but more importantly, they'll have stories for a lifetime that nobody will believe. Sometimes it's not so easy to share these thoughts with others. Our VFW didn't want these valuable memories to be lost, but how could we do this? Our VFW Post started adding lunches after our meetings as a way for them to open up and build common links. Believe it or not, most of the stories they shared with one another were ironic or funny, and somebody always had to top somebody else, so there was no lack of discussion. Now, as an example, a quick story. In Desert Storm, after it was over, I gave up my tank company and they made me the operations officer. Now sharing a tent with the operations sergeant major. Well, we got in there and we saw a scurrying over on the side of the tent. It was a tan, hairy, multi-legged creature, a camel spider. Now, a camel spider doesn't sound bad, but they're big as my hand. And what they would do is latch on to camels, and they would inject a local anesthetic where they wouldn't feel, and then they would start chewing on that part of the skin of the camel. So these camels had some horrific scars from those camel spiders. So we determined we were not going to get chewed on in the middle of the night by a spider. So we tore up that tent trying to get that thing, and it was quick as lightning. But I finally got it. John Smoltz would have been proud. My helmet that's over there on the table, I took that thing and whipped it across and smashed that thing. So we were able to sleep that night in peace. But these discussions had a common thread of bridging war eras. Speakers were added for a new dimension to bring a commonality of combat period on things they didn't even know, like in Vietnam. How many of you know that the Coast Guard was over in Vietnam during the war? Oh, wow. Well, I know a lot of our guys do because we had Art Katz give a talk on it. And we got Dave Williams out there supporting the Coast Guard there today. Also, air combat. General Bruce McLean talking about a second lieutenant flying F-4 Phantoms and how it was in the air. Or Ham McDonald talking to us about supporting the ARVN forces on the ground. Or a total tour of duty where Bob Hopkins talked about what it was like in pictures, not combat, but getting on the plane, seeing the sights all the way through. Mike Reed over here. Mike, raise your hand. He came up for a way to share these experiences with the community and make them relative to people. He worked with each vet to build a personal slide that highlighted their war experience. The key piece was a photo of them back in the day when they were younger, thinner, maybe more hair, and take the viewer back in time. Then Mike took those slides and added historical film clips and music to create an 8-minute video that told the history of our group. You can find it on our homepage, VFW Dunwoody or 10822. And it's right there on the front. You just click on Meet Our Members and it'll take you to that video. But he used actual film footage, music. It's entertaining. But this video served as an introduction of these memories to others. It created a bridge to the community and youth, to volunteers that the VFW members going to schools, scouts, to the USO down at the airport. And even Normandy as our mascot there. He was part of a first grade reading program up at Levitt School that he does throughout the year. Now it brings a note how Normandy got his name. We got him from the Great Pyrenees Rescue, and my daughter insisted he had to have a French name for his heritage. Madeline up front, she's watching him now. Well, she said, "Dad, how about Pierre?" I said, "Oh no, not Pierre, we're not going there." And then she went down a list of all kinds of French names, but when she got to Normandy, I said, "Yes, that's it. It suits him fine." And he likes his name. He knows it when he's called. The community interaction, where we do awards for the first responders, for the Voice of Democracy, a high school award for kids to get them to understand and write their feelings about America and civics. We have one for middle school, the Patriots Pen, Teacher of the Year. And we go through this, not just for Dunwoody, but also Sandy Springs, because our area encompasses both of us. So we give out awards to everyone. The car show that I mentioned, we got one coming up on Saturday at the Dunwoody Post Office from 11 to 3. It'll be a good one because they got a World War I ambulance coming and an actual World War II Jeep ambulance that served at Iwo Jima and Okinawa. The veterans also inspire and share as speakers, not only for history, but technical, aviation, other things. They also tie their specialities in life that they went to do beyond being in the military. Then they also teach and remember. Going to the Atlanta History center that will interview the veterans and put that on tape for posterity so people can hear those experiences and their families can go there. I want to mention the Atlanta Vietnam Veterans Business Administration. We have a close tie with them, and they have done great things in the community. As the mayor mentioned, they were spearheading the effort there for the special monument on the other side of the park here. But also, and maybe more importantly, they spearheaded a documentary film about 45 minutes long called Truths and Myths of the Vietnam War. It is one that it's been pushed nationwide, and it'll be shown on PBS tonight. What time is that? Do you know, Bob? 7 p.m. tonight. 5. Sorry. Thank you for the correction. 5 o'clock. Got to have good veterans to keep me in line. But I would tell you to tune into that because it is not opinion. It's facts, and it lays out with film and interviews with people that were there on things that have been misconstrued during a very turbulent and often debated time. And finally, with vehicles, Loy Sparks. Where are you, Loy? In the back. There he is, in the back there. He brought his Jeep over here today, an M151 Jeep from the Vietnam era. Now, it wasn't just the Vietnam era, because when I was a young lieutenant, my unit was so low on the totem pole for getting new stuff, I started out with that Jeep, and I know how to put it together with baling wire and chewing gum, but they're very reliable. In closing, veterans have a lot of memories and experiences to share. To those in the audience, seek them out and learn with an open mind. To the veterans, don't embellish the stories too much. Besides those memories of the military and war, these men and women have lived and experienced alien cultures of different nations in different regions of the world with far different base values and standards of living. I'll tell you, the places I've been, and many of these folks, they've seen poor. It ain't what we see here in America. These people truly are trying to live day to day to survive. That is poor. It gives a whole new appreciation for the greatness of America and to the veterans who have defended this great nation for almost 250 years. We continue our service by giving. My final thoughts come from Normandy. Go Army, be Navy. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you.
A bit longer. Whereas Major General, retired William B. Dyer III, has dedicated over 39 years of distinguished service to the United States Army, culminating in his role as Commanding General of the U.S. Army's Reserve's 108th Training Command, where he oversaw and supported the training of 8,000 Army Reserve soldiers in basic combat and leadership training across the United States. And whereas Major General Dyer holds a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from Virginia Military Institute, a law degree from the Cumberland School of Law at Samford University, a master's in strategic studies from the Army War College, demonstrating a lifelong commitment to learning and leadership and development. Whereas Major General Dyer's career includes notable leadership as both an engineer officer and judge advocate with 2 combat deployments, including his participation in the 2003 initial invasion of Iraq and his 2018 leadership of NATO's efforts to establish the rule of law in Afghanistan, exemplifying his dedication to service in challenging environments. Whereas his service includes pivotal roles as Assistant Judge Advocate General for Military Law and Operations at the Pentagon and Commanding General of the Army Reserve Legal Command, culminating in his promotion to Major General in 2022. And whereas Major General Dyer's military honors include the Defense Superior Service Medal, Legion of Merit with 2 oak leaf clusters, Bronze Star Medal, Meritorious Service Medal with 5 oak leaf clusters, Presidential Unit Citation and Combat Action Brigade, reflect his exemplary dedication, sacrifice, and courage in service to our country.
Whereas, in his civilian career, Major General Dyer continues to serve his community and country as managing partner at Lee & Hayes Atlanta office, leading the firm's intellectual property litigation practice, specializing in patent, trademark, and trade secret issues. And whereas Major General Dyer, along with his wife Jill and their beloved dogs Duke and Sophie, has been cherished member of the Dunwoody community since 2003, raising 2 daughters and contributing to the life and vitality of our city, county, state, and nation. Now, therefore, let it be proclaimed on this 11th day of November, 2024, that I, Commissioner Robert Patrick, on behalf of the DeKalb County Board of Commissioners, honor and recognize Major General William B. Dyer III for his exceptional military service and civilian service, his steadfast dedication to leadership and justice, and his lasting impact on both the Dunwoody community and our nation as a whole. Major Dyer, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
No, thank you for all you've done to support.
Absolutely. Would you like to say a word or two?
Sure. Dangerous asking a lawyer if he'd like to say a word or two. No, thank you so very much. I know a lot of veterans, but I don't know a single veteran who ever raised a hand, took an oath, and agreed to do whatever the nation asked because he or she wanted recognition. The reason we volunteered, the reason we answered the call, the reason we served was because we love our families, our communities, and we love our nation. That said, we do certainly appreciate the pat on the back, the handshake, the kind word as you're passing on the street or in the airport. And we certainly appreciate proclamations and recognitions like the one I just received. So, Commissioner Patrick, on behalf of all the veterans in the audience, I am deeply grateful for your recognition. Thank you so much. God bless all of you. God bless this community and this wonderful nation of ours. Thank you.